والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلواتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون ولقد خلقنا الإنسان من سلالة من طين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين ثم إنكم بعد ذلك لميتون ثم إنكم يوم القيامة تبعثون ولقد خلقنا فوقكم 7 طرائق وما كنا عن الخلق غافلين وأنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر مكناه في الأرض وإنا على ذهاب به لقادرون فأنشأنا لكم به جنات من نخيل وأعناب لكم فيها فواكه كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وشجرة تخرج من طور سيناء تنبت بالدون وصبغ للآكلين وإن لكم في الأنعام لعبرة نسقيكم مما في بطونها ولكم فيها منافع لكم فيها منافع كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وعليها وعلى الفلك تحملون الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, a couple announcements before we invite the Imam of the Center to the podium. As you're all aware of, junior camp is coming very close, and you can register online, and we have some flyers for it outside. Please invite and encourage your children to join that camp. It is extremely beneficial. All those kids that you see now, they graduated from college, and they are successful in the community. They all been to these kind of camps and extremely good and beneficial to them. So please go ahead and encourage them to join this camp. As you probably have heard, August 5th coming up, not this Saturday, the next Saturday, we are celebrating the birthday of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Please recite the salawat. So not next Saturday, coming Saturday, the Saturday after that, August 5th, we're going to celebrate. And we're going to start our program, I believe 7 o'clock. But I'll double check on that. I will let you know later on. But mark your calendars for August 5th, inshallah. And we would like to see all of you here. And dinner, of course, and is going to be served here, as well as fruits and sweet, inshallah. We'd like to see all of you. Please encourage all your friends and relatives to join us as well. So without any further ado, please go ahead and help me out to invite the Imam of the Sunnah to the point of the last salawat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight's reading is going to be Surah Hud alayhi salam. Surah Hud verses 4 to 7. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وعلى الصفوة من أصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان وإيمان إلى يوم الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلى الله مرجعكم وهو على كل شيء قدير ألا إنهم يثنون صدورهم ليستخفوا منه ألا حين يستخشون ثيابهم يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون إنه عليم بذات الصدور وما من دابة في الأرض إلا على الله رزقها ويعلم مستقرها ومستودعها كل في كتاب مبين صدق الله العلي العظيم. We have 3 verses with three concepts that we're going to touch upon them briefly, inshallah. Ayah number 4 says, إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. Unto God is your final destination and is your return. إِنَّهُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. He is powerful over all things. This concept, which is about the return to God, is one of the most frequent concepts in the Quran. And it has a name. What is the name of this concept? The concept of return. What do we call it? It's one of the principles of religion, foundations of religion. How many foundations religion has? Main foundations, how many? Main foundations. Very main foundations are three. The first foundation is monotheism. The second foundation is prophethood, nubuwwah. The third foundation is ma'ad, the return, the day of judgment. However, in the Shia tradition, the school of Ahlul Bayt, we add two more foundations to this three, so it becomes five. What are these three that we add to them? Imamah, succession to the Prophet, which is also an important foundation of religion. And the second one is Al-Adl. Beside monotheism, we believe God is just, divine justice, the justice of God. So these, they make altogether Usul al-Din 3 and Usul al-Madhab 2. The foundation of religion are three. The foundation of the school of thought is added to it because others, they don't believe in these two. We believe in them. So we call them Usul al-Madhab. So they make five. Usul al-Din are altogether five. In Surah Hud, previously God spoke about monotheism and nubuwwah. Now he's speaking about the third one, which is what? Ma'ad. Ma'ad means al-aud, to go back. Because each and every individual has two mandatory trips and journeys to travel. Even those who hate to board an airplane or a train or a car, they definitely have to board it twice. No escape. One is our journey here. So you used one part of your ticket now. The other part, believe me, we will all use it sooner or later. Sooner or later, we're going to use the round trip, the return ticket. Marja', return ticket. Where is this ticket? Where does it take me? To what destination? To what city? To what family? Ilallah. From where I started earlier. Where did I start my journey? From Him. And to Him I will go back. So there is no escape from this. There is no escape from this trip. Why we must return? We must return to face justice. To face justice. We must stand before the trial, before the judge. Why we have to go back before the judge? Because here, we have been created here for a reason, for a purpose. We have been created here to work, to produce amal, and then on the day of judgment there is no more amal. They tell us that's it. No more work. Today, al-yawm amalun wala hisab. Wa ghadan hisabun wala amal. Tomorrow is going to be the day of trial. Day of justice. Where God is the court. God is the supreme judge and the jury and the prosecutor himself. Here in this life, people can get away with their crimes. In the West, if you hire the best attorney, you can get away with the wrong things you did. Good attorney can make someone who's guilty, can make him innocent. And sometimes they can make someone who's innocent guilty. The other day I was watching TV, I saw an interview with a man in San Bernardino, California. He was behind bars for 30 years. 30 years. After 30 years, they came to him, they said, "We are sorry. You have been wrongly convicted." They released him. After 30 years, he spent his entire life, entire youth behind bar, and now he's elderly and he's sick. He was wrongly convicted. Maybe he didn't have money, he could not afford a good attorney. So if you don't have money here, you might be wrongly convicted. They put you in jail for something that you didn't do. And someone who did the crime can get away with it and sit in his mansion, enjoy his time. It happens. In the West, it happens. You can escape from justice in the West. Not all times, but sometimes. In the East, you can escape from justice. In Muslim countries, also you can escape from justice. By what? By giving rashwa, bribery. By giving bribery to the judge. Yes, the judge. Here the judge is too afraid to take a bribery because he knows the repercussions. But in the East, in the Middle East and other countries, not just the Middle East, the judge, you can bribe the judge. Why you can bribe the judge? Because you can bribe the prime minister and the president too. So he's not afraid of that. He says, I look at my boss. If my boss, if the minister of justice, you can give him a bribery, and the prime minister and the president, why shouldn't I take it? They take it. Rashwa. So in both countries, in both cultures, in the East and the West, a criminal can get away with his crime. But there is only one place. In that place, no one can get away from his crime. No one. And that is the court of God. When we stand before Him. In Surah Al-Haqqah, chapter 69, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. On a day of judgment, you stand before God, you are exposed. تُعْرَض, you are exposed. People can see you. لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. No secret can be concealed on that day. Anything you did, any mistake, any wrong, any abuse is going to be shown in public. لا تخفى منكم خافية. No one can escape from that. No one can say, I have my attorney with me. I have my uncle helping me. I have money here. I come from this family, this tribe. No one. يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ. Verily, a day that you're going to be exposed, تُعْرَضُونَ. لا تخفى منكم خافية. خافية means secret. No secret is going to be concealed on that day. Or your file is going to be made public. You can't get away from God's justice. And this is one of the most important fundamentals of our faith. And someone who does not believe in the day of justice, the day of judgment, the day of return, he does not believe in God. As if he's saying God is careless. He just created me, threw me into this life, I suffered, and now he tells me die and disappear. But God would never do that. God created us with justice, with purpose, and with purpose there is justice. For everything we do and everything we say. And the next one is going to say, the next verse is going to say, not for everything you do and everything you say, for everything you think about, you're going to be held accountable. يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ. This is how we become responsible. And if there is no day of return, no ma'at, no day of judgment, we would not be responsible. We would not act responsible. We would act irresponsible and careless. And we would keep misbehaving and abusing others. So the only guarantee for us to be right, upright, and not to abuse is to remember that there is a day of judgment. No subject in the Quran has been mentioned so frequently like the day of judgment. 1,300 verses in the Quran. 1,300 remind us of the return to God. 1,300 verses throughout this book. Can you imagine? 1,300? It's not a small number. Some issues God mentions them only once. Only once. Some of them twice. But this one, this concept, Mi'ad, Day of Judgment, 1,300 times? He keeps telling me about it every single day. What does that mean? It means this is a reality. I can't forget this. God says this is important. I want you to remember it every day. Anything you say here, I'll hold you accountable. Even if your parents don't know about it, even the government does not know about it. I know about it. I know. And I'm going to hold you accountable. And if you try to conceal it here, you would not be able to conceal it there. There, when we go, when we are represented, they put the file around our necks. We carry them. You can't even hide it. Sometimes here, you know, in the court, when someone leaves the court, he hides his face from the cameras. Have you seen them? Or they put something, blanket, whatever, on their head. There you cannot put a blanket anymore. Neither you can cover your face. Why? Because you carry it with you around your neck. There, you carry it around your neck. وَكُلَّ إِنسَانٍ, every human. أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. طَائِرَهُ means his work, his file. فِي عُنُقِهِ, around his neck or her neck. Like a necklace. Very present, very obvious, it's not hidden. ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا. On that day, his book, his kitab, his book of deeds is wide open. It's not closed. يلقاه منشورا. Manshur means open, not closed. So people can read it too. You cannot hide it. Here you may hide your file. Some records are public and some records are private in this life. Even the attorney does not say to the judge about them. You know, in some trials, the judge does not say, especially when it comes with national security. National security, terrorism. The judge does not disclose why we are imprisoning him. When you ask the judge why, he says, this is national security. We can't. We have to protect our sources. We don't disclose them. On the day of judgment, there is no national security. All informations are made public. لا تخفى منكم خافية. لا تخفى منكم خافية. And this reminds me to be careful when I speak, and when I work, and when I act, and when I judge others, and when I deal with others. Whether it is your wife, when you deal with your wife, when you deal with your husband, when you deal with your children, when you deal with your partner at work, when you deal with your neighbors, when you deal with others, you have to be careful. If others do not notice, there is someone who does notice. So Allah says, إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Not only we go back to Him, He's reminding us that He is able to do everything. Qadir. Sometimes we go to someone who's not Qadir, unable, too weak, too afraid, too embarrassed. But God is none of these. He can tell us, face to face. He can tell us. God has no favoritism. Bani Israel, some of them, they said, وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبَّاؤُهُ. We are the children of God. We are the only children of God, and we are His sweethearts. God says, my only sweethearts, those who listen to me and obey me. Those who have piety and righteousness. Those who love God truly. Those who listen to God truly. Those who don't abuse. Those are the sweethearts. Otherwise, God does not have this nation or this race or that color His special friends. I have said this many times here and elsewhere. God has no favorite color, neither favorite gender, nor favorite geographic area, nor favorite people. God judge us by the level of our commitment and our piety. That's the only criteria He has. The Quran says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ يَثْنُونَ صُدُورَهُمْ. You know, when the Prophet, at that time, there were no social media, so the Prophet had to go to himself to the market He would not send tweets. He doesn't have Facebook. He doesn't have email. He doesn't have WhatsApp. So he has to meet people face to face. Where does he meet them? In public, in the market. Where do you see people? In the market, during the day. He didn't have an office, people come to him. His office was in the market, in the streets of Mecca. So some of those Quraysh, and Quraysh, by the way, if you read the history of Quraysh, and I say this without prejudice because I'm from Quraysh, by the way, 42 generations, I hit the heart of Quraysh in Mecca, my ancestors. So I don't say this with a prejudice, but I have to speak the truth. Quraysh was the worst community on earth. Community of arrogance, self-conceit, racism, bigotry, dishonesty. Yes, they had courage, but only when they wanted to murder others they had courage. But other than that, Quraysh was the worst tribe. You know how much it took the Prophet just to neutralize Quraysh? Just for them to listen to him and respond to him. And most of them, they did not listen to him. And many people who became later, not in the beginning. In the beginning, there were some good ones who participated in Badr and Uhud, the early ones. But later on, people started to go in religion with no choice. Not because they had choice. Because they were left defenseless. They could not meet the military power of the Prophet. They surrendered. See, there is a difference between someone who embraces Islam wholeheartedly because he loves this idea, and between someone else who surrenders. He has no choice. And had they been able to continue their fight, they would have continued. But they were defeated militarily. In the day of Mecca, Fathu Mecca, the 8th year of Hijrah, the conquest of Mecca. They were defeated. Just like ISIS when they were defeated in Mosul. They were fighting to the last bullet and then they said, we surrender, Exactly, their ancestors did the same with the Prophet in Mecca 1400 years ago. So it was the worst tribe. It was Quraysh who murdered Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It was Quraysh who attacked the house of the Prophet after his death. The house of Fatima to Zahra. It was Quraysh who murdered Imam Hassan. And many other crimes. So when they see the Prophet in the street preaching, inviting them with full compassion, what would they do? They cover their face and they turn themselves away. Ala innahum, look at the description. Ala innahum yathnuna sudurahum. Behold, they fold up their breasts themselves from the Prophet. They turn themselves away. Yajma'u nafsah. When you don't like someone, tijma' nafsak. This is an Arabic expression. They fold themselves. They don't stretch themselves. They don't welcome. They don't listen. They fold themselves. They fold themselves away from him. يَثْنُونَ صُدُورَهُمْ. Why do they fold themselves? لِيَسْتَخْفُوا مِنْهِ. So they cover themselves. They cover themselves with their garments. It's an expression of aversion to the Prophet. They don't like to listen to him. They hate listening to him. لِيَسْتَخْفُوا مِنْهِ. To cover themselves. Listen to the answer of the Quran. And this is, by the way, not just Quraysh. Thousands of years before them, the people of Nuh. قال رب إني دعوت قومي ليلا ونهارا فلم يزدهم دعائي إلا فرارا وإني كلما دعوتهم لتغفر لهم جعلوا أصابعهم في آذانهم. They shut their ears with their fingers. واستخشوا ثيابهم, and they cover their faces and they say, we don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. This is the logic, the illogical logic of the arrogance. They don't want to listen. And today we have in our communities, in our families, some of them are willing to come and listen, and some of them they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. One of the indications of arrogance is when someone is unwilling to listen. When he begins becoming unwilling to listen, this is the seeds of arrogance. ألا حين يستغشون ثيابهم يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون إنه عليم بذات الصدور. God says, when they cover themselves with their garments thinking that you don't see them, and they can hide themselves from you and from the truth and from justice and from reality, يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلُنُونَ. God definitely knows what they hide, يُسِرُّون, from sir, when you hide something. وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ, and what they disclose in public. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ, truly he knows, إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, what lies within your souls. He knows exactly. We say that you cannot know people unless they speak. How do you know who's who? Imam Ali says, the best way to know people, to know their identity, don't ask him about his name, his village, his nationality, his family. Let that person speak. Once that person speaks, you can evaluate that person. Why? Because his speech is a reflection of his reason. So if that person has good reason, good education, when he speaks, it shows. It's reflected in his statements. Someone who's smart, educated, his speech is valuable. And someone who has no education, he always hallucinates. You don't understand. You don't know what he's talking about. That's the difference. Allah is the only one that does not want you to speak, so He knows you. He doesn't want you to speak. He doesn't need you to speak. He knows, because He knows what lies in your heart, in your soul, even if you don't speak. Even if you don't open your mouth, He knows. He's the only one. Why? Because He's your designer. He's your creator. He knows everything that goes in your heart and your mind. He misses nothing. يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. In the past, they used to avoid the prophets in the market. This is what Quraysh did. This is what all other communities did with their prophets. Nowadays, the prophet does not go to the market. How do they avoid the truth? How do they avoid listening to truth and justice? By listening to something else. Someone who does not like to listen to truth, he fills his ears and his heart from what? Music. Songs, bad music, crazy talks, crazy movies, crazy clips, crazy articles, crazy pictures. And nowadays, I remember my generation, the parents would not allow their kids to go to the movie theaters. I myself, I have never been to a movie theater until I was 17 years old, when the movie, the message about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out in the 70s. It was here in Beverly Hills. Producer of this movie. To my dad, and he said to him, please Sayyidina, let me take your kids to see the movie. That was my first time I go into a movie theater. Wow, beautiful place. I only knew about Husayniyah, believe me. Masjid and Husayniyah. That's my Disneyland. My father would take us from Masjid to Husayniyah, from Husayniyah to Masjid. The only day I saw a movie theater was, when I was 15 years old. It was in 1977 in Amman, Jordan. Because of this good man, noble man. He felt sorry for us. So he took us, me and my brother, to see this movie. Nowadays, you don't have to go to a bad movie to watch bad movie to become corrupt. Nowadays, the bad movies, they come to your bedroom, to your room, to your bed, to your desk. And our kids are always addicted to this. See how much they carry this? They don't pay attention to anything. At the time of food, they carry it. At the time of bed, sleep, it's with them. At the time they go to bathroom for 2 minutes or 1 minute, they carry it with them. This is why this is full of germs, believe me. Because it's taken everywhere. It's taken. فاش نکنید چیزای زنها حاج خانم. محمد و آل محمد. So here running from the truth means when you run from the Prophet, run away from it. Here, you don't have to run away from the Prophet. Here, the shaitan is with you. Those who do not want to listen, those who do not even open this book once a year. My friends, I've been doing tafsir for 21 years here. 21 years. Because I believe in the empowerment of this book. When you are down, this book brings you up. When you read it with meditation, when you meditate on this book, not just reading it, meditation and reflection and understanding, this is a book of empowerment. This is a book of energy. This is a book of hope. This is a book of direction. This is a book of joy. This book. But many people, they don't read it. They don't even open it. They don't even spend, not even once a week. Not even once a week. They don't spend even 5 minutes to reflect on some of the concepts here. And then yet they come and they say we are miserable. We are lost. You know why you are lost. When someone does not eat healthy food, he survives on junk food, he should not say, I'm sick. Because he knows why he's sick. When we don't eat the right food, this safe, spiritual, mental food, we get sick. The nafs gets down and sick and depressed and happy, lost, confused. But if you begin your day and end your day with reflections, even 1 or 2 verses, no more, 1 or 2, try to understand what he is trying to tell you. Try to understand it. You would never feel down. This is a book of joy. This is a book of empowerment for all men, women, young, old, Muslims, non-Muslims. Book of empowerment. Allahumma ighfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat tabi' Allahumma baynana wa baynahum bil khayrat innaka mujibu ad-da'awat innaka ghafirul khati'at innaka mahi as-sayyi'at وجاعلها حسنات إنك على كل شيء قدير. Tomorrow inshallah Salatul Jumu'ah at 1 p.m. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين